Okay, so good morning everyone, and welcome to an impromptu episode of Octane's Oracle, where today we're going to talk about Breath of the Wild 2, and I'm going to be drawing the Breath of the Wild 2 link while we talk as well. I also apologize for any background noise. Obviously, I was not expecting to be recording this today, I mean that's a good thing, really. I mean, none of us were really expecting whatever we saw today, but I thought it was important for you guys to hear what I think of the new trailer, as well as having something interesting on the screen for you guys to look at while I ramble today. Right, so where should we start? So this was Nintendo's E3 presentation that we're going to be talking about today, and in particular, I obviously want to focus on the Zelda section. There were no real other announcements that particularly caught my eye this time around. I'm not interested in Smash Ultimate or any of that kind of stuff. I was kind of hoping for possibly some Pikmin or something like that, or just some other Nintendo IPs really. But of course, I came into this mainly with the hope of a Zelda 35th anniversary, and well, we're not getting one of those. But we're going to save that salt for a bit later on today. We got plenty of a figure to draw. Here we are, starting with the outlines, of course. And well, the first thing I think we should talk about is I guess let's start with Skyward Sword HD, and I know this wasn't actually first in the direct, but Skyward Sword is my favourite Zelda game, and I think it's earned that spot. It was also one of the first ones that I played, so it definitely holds a special place in my heart. So I'm really excited to get see it get a bigger audience and see more people enjoy it. However, as far as myself goes, it's not something I particularly want to buy again because I already own it on Wii, unless they make some big changes, which I could see them doing. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for them to go, oh, well, we need to overhaul this and that and the other, and we'll end up seeing something quite spectacular out of it. I mean, I would like some overhauls. I've heard a lot of people express a desire for a Zelda-led second quest, and I have to say, I'd probably be on board for that. I think that'd be a nice inclusion, considering that's based around the credits. So yeah, I think it's really nice that it is getting remade just so that it can be enjoyed by more people. But obviously, Skyward Sword HD really wasn't the main focus today. And next up was the Age of Calamity announcement, or the next one I want to talk about. And as much as I enjoyed the base game, and I really hope that the second DLC is better, but this one just looks a bit trash, really, doesn't it? I mean, great inclusions, but overall, what are we really getting here so far? We've got that one ancient armor skin from earlier in the year. I do like the flail mace, but having the Guardians a playable character is a bit of a weird choice, I think, at least. So, I'm not too sure how I feel about that one, but overall, nothing bad really. It's just not quite what I was hoping for. Hopefully the part two will be much more dramatic. I'm really hoping for like Soldier's perspective on the fall of Akala or the original timeline in the DLC. That would get so many more people to buy the game, and that would be really interesting to see. Um, okay, but again, Age of Calamity DLC was like a 2-second announcement, wasn't it? It really wasn't anything big in this presentation, and we're working our way up there. I think next we should probably talk about the Game and Watch. I expected there to be a Game and Watch. I didn't expect to be the only thing we're getting. I'm really disappointed by the fact that we're not getting a 35th anniversary, and it just backs up that feeling that Mario has a full-on superiority. And I know so many people disagree, and Mario's all right. I have nothing against the plumber. I love the Lego sets, as you guys know. But it's just disappointing. I had all these hopes, remasters and just tie-ins. I was expecting 35th to be the signifier of Lego Zelda, and we'll get back to that in a minute as well. But I'm just the Game and Watch is nice. It's a great opportunity to get like those old games and stuff. But again, I just struggle with the notion of what we could have got, and I think it's really disappointing that they're not doing it. And I realize that a lot of it's probably down to COVID, but I'm not happy about it really. It's quite upsetting from a perspective of a Zelda fan, and I think that segues quite nicely into what I want to talk about with what we're drawing now. So before we get to the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer, which is I realise probably why you guys are all watching, I wanted to mention what I think is going to happen now with Lego Zelda, and my answer is that no time soon. If Nintendo weren't looking to do anything for the 35th, then they, sure as anything, are not in a rush to do another partnership. I can see them maybe even holding off starting to development on Lego Zelda until we knew that Mario was a success. Meaning that at the absolute earliest, I would now predict summer 2022. And even then, at this point, I'm pretty not hopeful. I mean, I'm sure we'll see it eventually. It's a very popular franchise. I mean, we're Breath of the Wild 2 trailers, 3 on YouTube trending today, which is crazy to be honest. Was not expecting to wake up and see that, which is great for the fandom and stuff. So I'm really pleased that it's getting some love. I mean, it was a very popular game and made waves even outside of the Zelda community, which is another great thing to see, really. So I'm very happy with the outcome for Lego Zelda. No, I'm not happy with Lego Zelda. Oh, sorry, that got stuck in my head there. I'm very disappointed that it means we probably won't be seeing Lego Zelda anytime soon. And for someone that's put as much effort into the custom set showcases as me, I'm getting really desperate to see the actual outcome of these sets. And I think it's a real shame that we've got to wait even longer. But of course, that was not the big news today. Today, we got our first ever proper Breath of the Wild 2 trailer. Now, as far as my history goes back with this, I loved the original trailer. That was absolutely terrifying when we heard the "Help us, please" thing. And, well, I was not expecting what we saw today. There's a couple of bits I like, and there's a couple of bits which kind of scare me. I'm not gonna lie. But it's definitely a game that I'm very interested in picking up as soon as it releases. And while I won't play it on the channel, the idea is that we will have an entire custom set showcase wave dedicated to Breath of the Wild 2, currently known as Wave 8, but I have a feeling that will come in as more like Wave 5, as I don't anticipate they'll release this early 2022. I mean, they're aiming for 2022 release date. I assume that would mean December, to be honest, or as absolute late as they can push it. So we'll see what happens there. I don't have high hopes, and it probably might even get ended up pushing back. But I don't mind because I'd rather the game be really ridiculously high quality. Because as much as I love Breath of the Wild definitely has its flaws, and I think we can all agree with that. I've had a lot of people in the comments tell me that it's just not a good Zelda game, and I think that is a completely valid opinion to have. For me, I don't quite believe that, but that's besides the point. We're here to talk about what they revealed today. So the trailer opened with more of the same kind of stuff, didn't it? I mean, it was that first scene that we saw back in 2019, and I think they're focusing on this because it's clearly a big plot point. I definitely think that the fact that Zelda disappeared means that she is not going to show up for the majority of the venture, as that is the traditional Zelda formula, isn't it? I mean, what Zelda game has really had a playable besides Age of Calamity and the CDIs? I mean, I know there's been a couple, but I mean, you know what I mean. So I think she's gone for the most of the adventure. I am also really intrigued by this sky setup. I think that's really, really interesting. I'm particularly interested to see how that turns out, really. I like the idea of the islands. I'm a bit concerned, however, about how much of the surface is left untouched. I really hope a lot more changes than what it looked like in that trailer, because currently it sort of looks like no, well, nothing's really changed. I was kind of hoping for Castletown rebuilt. I will take it not rebuilt, but the fact that the castle untouched, lifted up to the sky, completely unrebuilt, I at least hope that is changed on the inside, like Ganon either takes over the tower or the castle even, or that it's collapsed in a way to make it unique. Because I think the castle being one of my favorite areas of all of Zelda, I'd really, really be disappointed to walk around the same castle again, just in the sky. And I don't necessarily feel that way about the overworld. I feel like the overworld is fine in like the big empty areas, but the concentrated areas where you spend a lot of time, and I think in particular I'm referring to the settlements. I think Tarrytown would be a nice, easy one where they could change some stuff. I think putting Tarrytown in the sky and dilapidated or something would be really, really cool to see. The other one that I would like to see change would probably be the Zora River area. I love the area as a whole, but I feel like you couldn't just copy paste it in and then have it be the same explorable, different enemies, different rewards, no Koroks and such. But I just very much feel like the more detailed and compacted spaces of the overworld need some more filling in. So you could do a bit with Hyrule Field. I'm kind of hoping there might be like a new town thing over there. It looked like Hyrule Field was a lot smaller from the trailer to me, and I'm hoping there's some big like holes in the floor. And I don't know. I just feel like some of those open spaces, like where they showed the Talus, I don't mind that being left untouched because that feels very. It doesn't need to be altered. It's just a big open field, and the main item of interest, the Talus, has been changed and updated. But I think just from a perspective of everyone that's played Breath of the Wild, if they leave the world exactly the same, even if the Sky Islands are just an expansion, basically I'm saying the overworld can't just be expanded into the sky. They do need to modify the ground. If they leave the ground untouched and just change up the enemies, I think that'd be really quite disappointing to see. Mainly just because I don't know. I don't know how fun that would be to walk around the exact same world, knowing all the landscapes and the terrain, because half of Breath of the Wild is just exploring. And yeah, it's a perfect idea to set it in the same world, but that world needs to be significantly changed so that the challenge of exploring is different, while you still have all those references like, oh, I remember this was over here, and oh, that was cool, and now it's changed, and that's rewarding, not oh, it hasn't changed, I know it's over here, oh, I know there'd be something special here because such and such. So there's stuff like that which I definitely want to. I'm more concerned about stuff like that. There's also this theory currently going around at the moment that there's going to be it's going to be set in the past, or a large majority of it, and that's all judging from like the missing ruins and shrines and things, no divine beasts, and the fact that we've got this like Celtic looking Link. I would like to say no. I do not want to see large segments in the past. I wouldn't mind like playable memories of like the original champion, and I wouldn't mind the original champion being in the story, or even like switch out characters so that you play as the dead champion in the modern day. But I definitely don't want to split it again with more extreme time travel. However, that there are definitely some things I do want to see. So I'm pretty sure that's Ganondorf. I think that's a fairly safe bet, is that that's a Ganondorf corpse. But one thing I would really like to see is the return of Demise. I heard a lot of people talk about that this is the chance to move away from the Ganondorf curse, and I personally think the only way to do that satisfactory is Demise. And the other reason I'm more confident to say Demise than I would be otherwise is because the game just looks like Skyward Sword. Have you seen the the imagery? I mean, they're literally flying in the exact same way, and Skyward Sword HD is releasing. So I would not put it past Nintendo for Breath of the Wild 2 to literally just be Skyward Sword 2, the follow up to Demise's story and all that jazz. So I'd be down for that. I think that would be cool. Another small thing I've noticed before I get onto the rest of the trailer is in the shot with the Talus. Can someone confirm to me if Hebra is no longer snowy? Because I can't quite tell, but to me, it looks like Hebra is not a snowy mountain anymore, which is interesting to say the least. I don't think I was expecting it to be to be different like that. It looks a bit strange to me. Um, who knows? I just thought it was something worth pointing out, that I thought it looked particularly different. So, can someone let me know on that down in the comments? That would be much appreciated to work out if I'm correct there. But no, Hebrew Mountain I think looks fairly different. Uh, just as an art style point, don't love the Bocobans with horns. Um, I think it's cool that they've been modified in some way, but why Moblin horns? I don't understand. But that's just a me thing, my personal thing. Maybe they have a cool ability that will make me change my mind. But overall, I think it was definitely a nice trailer. I love the trees in the sky too. Let's just point that out now while we're still going here. I think the trees look very very pretty. The whole art style just looks pretty. I love this sort of, what would you call it even? Cell shaded? No, it's not quite cell shaded, is it? No, I love the art style. I think the original art style for Breath of the Wild was great, and I think that's still standing true here, which is really pleasing for me to see. I also do love the teal effects. I'm not sure about all this Zonai stuff. I've never followed much of what's going on with the theories in that regard, but I don't mind it. I don't know if that's a bit too much for just like your casual audiences or not, but I'm not too fussed on the story in particular. As I said, I just don't really want the past. I think is my main gripe, or my main possible gripe with the story. So I think that pretty much sums up like the overall thoughts on the trailer. Castle riding up into the sky is genius, and that shot at the end of the trailer is absolutely beautiful. I can't tell you that it's not. I mean, just look at the way it's framed. Like that's perfect desktop material right there. And the other thing I wanted to touch on before we start talking theory wise is the Guardian thing. This very much reminds me of the reveal of the egg in the Age of Calamity trailer. I can tell you right now that this guy is either a boss or some important NPC. Couldn't tell you which, but I think it has to be one of the two. If it's a boss, then they're just showing it off because it looks cool. But to be honest, it kind of looks friendly, so I wouldn't put it past it to be an NPC, which is important with something. But I think the biggest question is, where did these Skyons come from? I mean, look at them. They are clearly not from the ground of Hyrule. Like, yeah, the castle's lifted up, and I hope that other stuff like Kateno does, but it's very clearly not an existing landmass because there's none of the existing features, and we've never seen yellow trees anywhere. So unless they're going to do something silly and limit the expansion of these platforms to just the Akala region, and the Akala region goes yellow in the summer, then I think it's a safe bet to assume that something odd's going on. I mean, I don't even know what, which is why people are even saying future, isn't it? And that terrifies me. I don't want to go back in the past. I think that's really risky to do, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. But then again, I said that about Age of Calamity as well, and then I ended up loving that game. So maybe I just can't be trusted. It is the answer with my opinions. So that's fine. So I talked about the castle going up at the end. I talked about the Guardian, which is something I really wanted to touch on. I've talked about the landscape and how I just think it looks pretty. I've talked about Ground Hyrule, and obviously all these theories are coming out and reactions and all this stuff is happening. I'm just really glad it's here. It's coming, it's finally like around, and that's just really nice to see. It's been so long. Oh, it feels like a really long time. Clearly, it's obviously only been a year, really. No, 2 years, I suppose. We haven't had a trailer in a while, have we? But I don't really know. I was excited, but it's just been soured. I think is my overall opinion. It's really hard for me to decide because on one hand, I absolutely love that we did get a trailer. On the other hand, I'm just really disappointed with how they're treating the 35th, and I think that's really sad to see, given how much treatment Mario got. And I think not to feel like an entitled fan, but when you do one for one of your franchise and then you've got the other franchise which has revolutionized gaming in at least three ways, I think it's just disappointing to not see them really celebrate it in any way other than a Game and Watch. Um, and no, I think that's where I draw the line on what happened with their whole 35th anniversary. So I've talked briefly about how I think that's going to affect the Lego side of things, and it's sort of difficult for me to say really. I don't know. It just feels odd to me that Lego would do it without the 35th, so I feel like that's why we're going to get a longer wait. I mean, maybe it would just be a Breath of the Wild 2 tie-in. I mean that's a perfectly good option as well. I mean, I don't know. It's so much up in the air. I can't tell at this point. But moving in onto the second half of stuff I wanted to talk about with this trailer and then with the Lego Custom Set Showcase is how I'm going to treat it and I think what my plan is. So I'm going to start talking about that now. So we took a quick break there before I come back and talk about this trailer shot by shot. And there's a couple of more bits I want to share. It was a pretty big presentation, really. I again, just as I said earlier, just disappointed with with how the whole thing went down with the 35th. So firstly, Link got hit by the Malice. Really not sure what's going on there. Then you had the Ganondorf standing up scene. I really like his design for this game, looking more like a mummy to fit in with that whole theming that we had going on in Breath of the Wild, and then obviously now in Breath of the Wild 2. Zelda Falls are talking about that, and then you have this big pause, and then you have the most Skyward Sword looking thing I've seen since Skyward Sword came out in 2011. And I love the islands. I'm not a big fan of the Link design, this like Celtic outfit. I love the idea of the hand, but I really hope that this outfit isn't like the main one or the permanent one. I hope that it's just like Breath of the Wild, where it's an armor style. I don't believe the long hair is significant of anything because later on we literally see him in the champion's tunic. So I'm hoping that it's just a themed outfit around the outfit. And then you have that other shot with the big stone thing in the sky. And honestly, from the shot we see later on with the new enemies, I really do think that we might be getting dungeons, or at the very least surface level caves. We've seen absolutely nothing of the kind, but back in 2016 we had seen what the shrines were, even if we didn't know what they actually were and what role they played in the game. So at this point, it's still very much on the table of whether we do get dungeons or not. But you kind of would assume so, given how much stuff's in the sky. Then you have the talus, talus with the camp on the back, which was just such a funny thing to see. That almost just feels like a meme to me at this point. And you can see a couple of ruins off at the distance. Death Mountain looking particularly non-lavary, but then again, it might not just be rendered properly. So I find that particularly interesting that it's different. But as to why do the Bokoblins have horns, like that's what we don't know. Uh, Another thing from this shot that I was going to point out is definitely the what's it called? The tails on the paraglider. So paraglider is different, and what? So who cares? Maybe it's customizable. We don't know, but it has these ribbons, and I think that has to link into a theory I watched on YouTube the other day. I cannot remember who by. Uh, about that was something they wanted to see. So then the paraglider actually reacts differently to different wind speeds. I could very much see that being a thing. I just think that there's definitely something going on in the background in this shot though, because both Death Mountain and then in the other shot where we do see Hebra, I believe, they just look very different. Like something's changed. I just can't tell what. So the next one we have is of the green arm, and I think this has to be like either an upgrade process or like after Link falls down. But one thing we can definitely see is that he's probably shirtless in this by the looks of it, and he's definitely on some sort of ritual platform as well. So that's somewhat interesting. I don't know why he's not wearing any clothes again. It feels like Shrine of Resurrection, but then again, I also assume that this could be like the upgrade to the rune. And I think it's very clear to me, at least, although we can't really see it in this shot, that there is no Sheikah Slate. I don't believe that he uses Sheikah Slate because I think that's what the arm's going to do. So we also have this. We have this stop time. No, so like send something back in time shot. And then we have this next one in the cave, and I agree with a couple of the theorists on this one. I think this is a like. I think that's probably the best interpretation for what it is. And as for where it is, this could either be a dungeon or very clearly could be a surface level cave too. I mean, some of the terrain around here makes it look like it's one of those behind a bombable wall things, but the actual enemy itself makes it feel definitely like a dungeon. I mean, the game's director definitely did mention that he was taking on feedback for fan suggestions, so I assume that means that dogs will be pettable and that there will be dungeons in this game. So they'll find some clever way to do it. But I think it's nice to see more enemies at the very least. Like the Talus is just sort of a funny joke throwaway, and the Bokoblins with horns are like, well, okay, then fine. But I hope we see more of enemies like that Ancient Guardian if he is an enemy, and then also stuff like the what did we just see? We literally just saw it at the like, or what we presume to be a like. So then I'm assuming they also show us how you transport up to the islands, because I doubt they'd include something like the hook shot again. So it probably means you've got to go to points on the floor, or you have to be in a body of water, then you activate the arm and you go up into the sky, and then from there you can grapple between the islands or whatever. I really don't know. But there are no shrines. You can see the Thundra Plateau or the Hyrule Ridge area, and there are no shrines in sight. So that's a really good sign, because I think having those there would have cemented my problem with the overworld even more. So I'm really glad they're not there. And there's definitely this very different architecture up there. I would love if there was a reference to Skyloft though. Like that would be great to me, at least if we saw that. However, I can't help but notice that these islands all look very small, and I'm just worried because I want this game to be amazing, but I'm just not seeing huge amounts of like things to do on these islands. But then we definitely go to my favorite shot of the castle, and one, I'm sad they didn't fix the castle, but two, I understand why, because they were going to do this to it, and you've literally got bits of it falling off, bits of it fall down, and then the whole thing raises up into the ground, pushed up by Malice. And this is where I think Demise could be involved. It feels very like end of the worldy kind of thing. I also 100% agree with all these Master Sword theories going around that the Master Sword has rejected Link because of his infection or whatever is going on there. Now, you can also see like fog on the ground around the Krenel Hills in this giant shot, and I can't work out whether it is just environmental or whether that's about to be the stuff comes up from below and goes to the top. At the very least, I hope that you can go in the pit underneath Hyrule Castle or something like that. You know, there's so many options here, and we have no clue what they're going to do. I'm not entirely sure if the sky's enough. Like, I feel like they might expand a bit to the north or to the west, maybe. Not the seaside. I don't reckon we'll get ocean, but it would be nice to get like a half-meter expansion, you know, just a bit further on, or some subtle changes. No one would mind some extra content, I'm sure. Um, but between this trailer and the original trailer, there is definitely some things to me that stand out as far as just concepts go of stuff I want to make. So we're gonna segue here into the custom set showcase talk, and I'll prattle on a bit about the plans there that I briefly mentioned earlier. But I was kind of all over the place. We've been drawing this guy this guy for a while now. It's actually proving a fairly difficult figure to draw. And also let me know if you guys want me to draw the Celtic style Link as soon as we get an image of his actual front, because I would have done him, but can't see what his front looks like. But I suppose they're doing that because that was like the gameplay sections, and also because maybe there's a chance it's not actually Link, which would be interesting. But anyway, custom set showcase. So we're currently approaching wave 3. That's not going to change because that will be finished before Christmas. Then I assume, as we're not expecting a March release, I'm going to have to do wave 4 first. And I mean possibly, but really unlikely, because next year's going to be a very busy year for me, so I'd expect less showcase content, and more just like random stuff. So I'd suggest that we'll probably get to wave 4 of the custom set showcase and then do the dedicated wave for Breath of the Wild 2, because I plan on picking this game up pretty much as soon as it releases. I didn't actually have a Switch when I got Breath of the Wild, so I had to wait a while before I could get that game. But no, definitely we're going to do an entire wave dedicated to Breath of the Wild 2, just because Breath of the Wild 1 was, there were so many sets you could make out of that, and I can already see some stuff from this trailer. So as for stuff I can see myself making, so it'd be a full wave of 15 if I can manage it. One set will definitely include this opening sequence, so I'm thinking the water buffalo, some crystals, and then the Ganondorf tomb, depending on how the scene plays out. You know, if it's just a completely different scene to what we're imagining, then who knows what will happen. I can also see them being like a giant, like oversized flying island set, you know, like just with some trees and some flying bits and then some play features. And I'm sure there'll be lots of set pieces throughout the game. But obviously, I'm predicting this off the 2 minutes worth of footage that we've had over the last 2 years here. So expect some big changes. But hopefully, there's a nice sequence on the islands, maybe even something similar to the Nature fight in Breath of the Wild 1, where I can do that again. One thing that will definitely happen, NPC or villain, that Guardian thing is getting made. That's pretty much a lock for me. Is that guy is gonna appear in one of my custom sets in the future. We just need to know more about him. He's clearly important, but we'll have to wait and see. If the like thing ends up being a like as well, he'll probably make the cut just because he's cool looking, and I'd like to make sort of this like mechanical arm creature coming down from the ceiling. You could see him almost being a dungeon expansion, if that is a dungeon. Might not be. And the last thing from this trailer that particularly stands out for me for something to make, and I realise I've pretty much said everything in the trailer, bar a couple of things, is nothing from the Hyrule Castle, because the Hyrule Castle's not changing. If it was changing, then sure, we'd have some options. But I think the Stone Talus really stands out to me, and now I have a Stone Talus planned actually for the future of the showcase. So um, I would really like to do a second version that has a camp on his back. I just find that so funny to me. But that gives you a rough idea. Obviously, both Link variants will appear in sets because they both appeared in trailers, and trailer outfits are usually the most iconic. The Zelda outfit will appear. Cursed Ganondorf will appear in one of these sets, guaranteed. The Water Beast from the first trailer will appear. Maybe even a rat, you know, throw that in there for the fun of it. The Guardian thing will appear. I'm assuming the Bokos will appear, although I did not make that mold in the mind of them getting longer horns. So maybe the Breath of the Wild 2 Bokoblin will not appear. That Guardian thing will appear. The like will probably appear, and I'm guessing that Talus will appear as well. So basically, everything in the trailer is going to appear, but obviously, it will be shaped a lot with my experience of the game and what the main story beats are. As if you only look at what Breath of the Wild sets I've done currently, I've done a Guardian, I've done Hyrule Castle, which are huge set pieces from the actual games. I've done them up Divine Beasts, another huge set piece from the actual game, and I'm tackling the mini bosses. So you've seen stuff like Hinoxes and Taluses and stuff. So it definitely comes down to what makes up a huge part of the game. But I'm really excited to see people get their hands on this. Whenever this game does come out, I will probably go blank for a while because I really want to avoid spoilers for this game. Obviously, we're a long way off yet, so that's not going to happen for a while, and I know how to avoid leaks. I'm just talking about gameplay spoilers where they put the spoilers in the thumbnail and stuff. Those will definitely be stuff that that I extremely avoid. Um, what else was there that I particularly wanted to say about this game? No, I'm sort of out really. I mean, it was just sort of a bit exciting, but then also a bit of a letdown. So, I think I've probably waffled on for long enough. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it there. I hope you enjoy the rest of this time lapse of Link being made and like you like the figure. Let me know what your favorite part of the trailer is, your fan theories, what you want to see made in Lego next, and if you want to see another one of these, but much more organized the next time than having to do this the night before Octane's Oracle is due out. Well, let me know because I didn't even have this figured from, so just excited to get this out there to you guys. I apologize for all the rambling and the doubling up, etc. It's hard to film things. And I'll see you on Friday for the minifigure showcase. Bye bye.